Good afternoon, everyone. I hope XDS is treating you well and that you're feeling refreshed this far into the conference, and so we got another year to go. Thank you for giving your time to this talk. It is my pleasure to be here to introduce Matt Ditton. I'm actually not the person who's supposed to be here. This was supposed to be Sviat from Room 8, but he is doing something that I think more of us in the game development community should do, which was there was an important family thing that he should attend. He could have opted out, but instead chose to prioritize being right for his kids as opposed to being here. And I really admire him for making that choice. So it's my pleasure to step in for him and introduce Matt, who is the studio head from Mighty Build and Test. I am delighted to see the talk that he is about to give. I have no context on it, which is delightful for me, beyond it is a talk that's going to dig into all the ways that his company has solved a whole bunch of dev cost problems. And the reason why I said yes to this particular one is I vividly remember the first time that I encountered Mighty Build and Test and having a conversation with Matt, and it was at XDS, and it was the kind of presentation where within about 30 seconds of him showing me what his company does and what they've been able to achieve, I knew I had to go find other people and bring them to the booth and show them what they were doing. I am so excited to see the kind of pitch that he gave to me expanded into a situation where we get to learn the gritty details of how what Mighty Build and Test is doing through automation can really benefit the development process and make all of our jobs better and more interesting and more fulfilling. And with that, I'm delighted to introduce Matt Ditton.
Hello. They gave me a laser pointer, so I'm going to be using that today. So look, oh wow, that is like, if we could go all the way to the front, that'd be great. So, before I get to the talk, there's just a couple of things that I wanted to do. So just FYI, just so no one thinks I'm losing my mind, the tone will be a little down, but I'll bring it back up, so just bear with me for 1 second. I've had a pretty rough week. A friend of mine passed away on Monday, and he had a heart attack. So basically found out he had chest pains, he had pain in his arm, but he was a man and a fucking moron, and was like, I'm feeling a bit better. So he went for a nap, and his partner found him on Tuesday morning. So he's gone. I loved him, he was a wonderful guy. So video games is an industry that skews young, and it skews male, and dudes are morons. So there are a whole bunch of us, and I can see a few people in the audience that are a little bit older than we used to be. So I would implore you, go get a health checkup. If you have trouble, see to it, because there's a whole bunch of lovely people in your life that want to spend time with you, and they're going to really hate it when you fuck that up. So, thank you. The second thing, okay, is you all look very nice, lovely people. So I just want to take your photo. So thank you very much. It's very good. Okay, now I'll just start the talk. So, yeah. I came and I saw this Australian and he rambled for 5 minutes and then got to the point. So, who's the Australian? My name's Matt Ditton. I've been in the industry for 25 years. None of you would know me because I've done my time a long way from here in Australia. I started a little company called Chrome Studios. I went to Pandemic Studios. I went to EA. The GFC happened and EA shut us down, and so I taught for a while. I ran a games degree. I started doing my own thing, started a business, started Mighty. Mighty's 11 years old, and we were bought by Keywords 2 years ago, like 3 weeks before XDS, which was the first time I came to XDS, and it was great. So my day-to-day job is I'm the automation guy at Keywords. I do this business now called Mighty Build and Test. That's the thing I'm talking about. Now, this is not a pitch. Maybe I should have done a pitch. I would say rock up to the booth, but it turns out we don't have a booth. So I'm just going to wander the halls like a homeless hobo, and you can come say hi. So the purpose of the talk. Now, the purpose of the talk is that we're an interesting business. We have a development side and we have an automation side. And for the last 3 years, we've been working on this giant project. And I haven't been able to talk about it, but it came out a few months ago. And we did the numbers, and we actually were incredibly cheap on this project. Now, how do I know this? Now, I know this, and I'll go into why. I know this because this project was massive. It was with Google. There were a number of different vendors. We knew them. They were friends of ours. There was quite a lot of work that was similar, with similar budgets. So there is a kind of counterfactual where we can look at what happened outside and we can go, right, well, against that, we came in 20% cheaper. How did we do it? So that's the conversation. Now, this is all framed within 2024 is a garbage year, as I think you would all understand. And money's very, very important. So here's a couple of ideas on how we save some money. Now, I do want to do some framing because as soon as I show you what it is, I'm sure all of you very talented people are working on big, huge AAA titles that are on next-gen consoles, and they've got 4,000 hours of content, and they're like super impressive and amazing. And you're going to look at this dinky thing and like, this guy's a clown. However, the conversation is about production methodology. We're all making games. All games are made very similarly. You generally have a difference in time, a difference in data volume, a difference in fidelity, but you've still got people in the seat making the game. So it's the same deal. This is a multi-million-dollar project, and we saved a lot of money. Now, this is the project. It's the Fitbit Ace LTE. This is a watch by Google, by the Fitbit part of Google, and it's a kid's watch that is games first. It's full of games. And interestingly, it's pitched to parents as a device that you can give your kid so they don't need a phone, which is oddly quite a big conversation that I found out is happening in America right now. I had no idea that this was a thing. But what this is like, it's a little bit of a tracker, but it's also like, it's a fitness thing. You do a bunch of different activities, you do a bunch of stuff. It's got a very high fidelity. It's got a very long-term engagement profile, and it's silly, and it's a lot of fun. And there's a lot of games on it, and this has been in the works for a number of years. Now, we have built 10 of the, I think, 16 titles. It had a significant overhead on efficiency, like you've not experienced pain until you've had to make something on a watch. Anybody made anything on a watch? Yeah, okay. People know a bit of pain. Right. Now, how we did it. Now, we did it in this kind of two-handed approach. Mighty is in two different parts. It's the dev studio and it's the automation side. We kind of got the problem and we carved it in two. Now, we've done the lion's share of the projects on this device, and we kind of did it in two parts. The game side looked after everything that was creative. If it had design, if it had graphics, if it was the game itself, that was their problem. Build and Test did everything that was technical. So if it had to ship, if it had to be tested, if it had to be localized, if it had a technical burden component, it went off to the other side of the business. All right? Now, what this meant was that at a fundamental level, the development process became this thing where the games team only had to care about the game. All technical issues were no longer their concern. Now, this is important. This is the kind of major, this is the major breakthrough. And the automation component was basically running from day one. We basically had this approach of like the minute there was The minute there was a piece of code checked in, we would stand up a build, and we would be testing it. We started the game with a spinning cube. We started every game with a spinning cube. And as long as the cube kept spinning and then the game kept working, away we went. So this is what it looks like. That's what it looks like. I don't know what's going on over there. That's what it looks like. What we would do is we would basically get the game, spin it up, deploy it, and then mass deploy it across lots of machines. So we would run multiple instances of all these games at the same time. Everybody look this way. I don't know what's happening here. But what would happen was in the studio, next to the developers, was the game running in real time. And every time there was a check-in, it would recompile, it would retest, it would redeploy, it would stand up, and away it would go, right? That's it. Along the way, there's all this stuff that happens. There's reporting, there's testing, there's performance analysis, there's just a whole bunch of stuff. But at a fundamental level, this is the major advancement. Because I tell this gag, right, where games aren't real. Games don't exist, okay? The problem with making a game is the game doesn't exist. The process of creation doesn't show you what it is. If you're painting and you paint it, as you paint, it becomes real. A video game, it's like I'm typing in some code and I'm painting a picture and I check it in and I don't know what it looks like. I got to go run the game, I got to compile it, I got to look at it, now the game's real. So you have this real disconnect. So developers spend so much of their time imagining what the game is. They have to hold the game in their head. They have this huge technical burden put upon them to visualize and understand the bit that they're doing and what it does. And so we just went, well, that feels like a total waste of time. So how about we just show you what it looks like all the time? Right. So this is the math. This slide is the magic slide. The top is the standard cost model. Now, the standard cost model is basically we would divide it among development, full-time unit, full-time equivalent, FTE, the dev QA component, the LQA component. I talk about QA a bit because I have to spend some time there, but FYI. Now, this is the number of times, it's 27 developer months in this project. And of this particular piece of math, I think we were looking at it's like the average of 3 titles or something like that. Now, this is what we thought it was. In fact, when we went and had a chat to the other developers that were also working on this, they came to something really close. This is actually what they spent. But this one down the bottom, that's what we actually spent. That's how long it took. We went from 27 to 19 and a half, and we took this like 4 and a bit in QA, and we brought that down to like, it's basically 2, rough, okay? That was all I needed the laser pointer for, so thank you very much. You should all get laser pointers. They're just so much fun. Now, the breakdown is that, 5. So that's 5 SKUs across the 2023 dev cycle. It's broken down across the different things. They're the numbers on how we were able to kind of bring that down. I'm going to kind of walk you through a few of the bits, okay? But this is also keenly important. So here's an abstraction of what game development looks like, just in case you don't know. There's all of these processes and all of these paths, and it's a windy curve. However, when you talk about automation and you talk about all these bits, we have a habit of going super early and going all the way along. And when I joke that like as soon as there's a line of code, there's a build, that's how it works. As soon as there's a line of code, there's a build on every single platform. Doesn't matter what it is. We will make that build and we will make that spinning cube go to every single platform. And there it will remain continuously, every single check-in, right up to shipping day. If anything ever goes wrong, you know about it. But the game can always ship. That's the purpose of it. So our automation process is like holistic. It's just the lot, right? And the dev savings part and the bit to talk about here was I didn't do the dev. The dev was done by the other studio head, which is Andre. And he sat down and figured out, like, oh yeah, okay, right. How did we actually save all this time? And he was basically saying, because production is always visible and the build is always working, anytime there's an error, he would see it and fix it right away. It was pretty weird, actually. I'll go into his process in a bit, but it was quite fascinating. Language testing. This is how we did language testing. We just turned the game on in every language. There were 24 languages. Google ships in a lot of languages. And we would basically stand up a screen with every single language running to look for functional errors. There's a few on the screen, actually. There's glyphs missing. There's various issues in the drawing. Arabic was done incorrectly at the start. Everybody does Arabic incorrectly. It's a terrible thing. There's carriage return problems in Japanese. There's all the classics, all the big ticket items that everybody gets wrong. They're just there on the screen. And so what we did was we turned it on. Away we go. The designer sees it. Oh, right, yeah, okay, I've got to fix that. Everything gets fixed straight away. There was no testing for it because it just happened all the time. Now, that completely discounts actual testing of, is the language correct? Is it translated correctly? Is the gender right? Is the conversation correct? Like all of those things, all the actual human bit, 100%. People did that. They did a great job. We were just dealing with the functional problem, right? And we fixed that real quick. This was another part of it. We actually did a whole bunch of post-analysis. So we took screenshots of everything, and we kind of threw it in this database here where you kind of draw around where the text box was, and then we did a bit of OCR analysis to kind of go, oh yeah, that's where the text is, and judged against the string, we think it's right or we think it's wrong, sort the game by broken, optimize your day. That was kind of the philosophy. QA. Two different models here, traditional on the left, the hybrid bit on the right. Now the hybrid bit was like, when it was like MBT team, like that's everything that can be done through automation. On the QA side, it's like, this is what the people can do. And look, I'll just cut to the chase. At a real fundamental level, we waste an awful lot of human time testing games. That's not to say it's not valuable, and that's not to say the human time isn't valuable, but there's just a lot of stuff that people shouldn't test. Like, does the build work? Does it open? Can you get to the level? Is this thing on the screen? A robot can tell you that, and a robot can tell you that every single day. You don't have to get Frank to waste 4 hours a day and just get incredibly depressed across months and destroy his life. Don't do that to Frank, it's bad. Frank is not an actual person. However, this was this kind of breakup of how he did things. I thought I'd break that down into some classical diagrams here. What we have up the top is the classical QA testing approach, where we have some developers that, there's also an artist. I thought the artist was great. You go through the build, you do the build, it's got to deploy and play on the game. There's someone who's checking it all. There's like a giant report that's written. Away we go. However, you can actually do quite a lot of that with a robot. And funnily enough, when you simplify all of this, you end up simplifying this. You simplify the dev side. Because what is occurring up here is there's just a lot of handling. There's a lot of backwards and forwards. There's a lot of time spent. I do some work. I got to give it to a person. The person has to do some work. That thing has to happen. And then that has to go back to this guy. And he's got to check this thing. And all of this is not the game. It's not hands-on tools. It's the process of checking what the game is, right? Now, I will say that the secret here is like all of those people from before, they run the robot. So this is not like we're replacing people. It's like, no. Actually, these people, they run the robot, right? Which means that you're making all of these people's lives a lot better because you're giving them a whole bunch of tools and you're giving them a whole bunch of ability to do a whole bunch of stuff that they would have ordinarily just brute force done before, it's pretty rough, right? And then you just have lots and lots of robots. So now, let's talk bugs. I have a little bit of data that I want to show, and then I get into the counterfactual. So up the top here is what we call the Andre technique. Andre was a studio head. Andre's technique was basically so the top is bug count, and across the side is time. Every little indicator is a day. And Andre's technique was he would log in the morning, look at Slack, check out the report, and if there was one bug, he would fix it. So what happened was Andre's game never had bugs, because as soon as something was found, he just fixed it. Right? Now, we are talking functional bugs. We're talking crashes. We're talking null refs. We're talking all the stuff that's like annoying code problems that's kind of difficult to find, difficult to solve. But we find them, resurface them, he fixes them. Design problems are a people problem. That's fine. You free up the people time to do that stuff. That's fine. But the next one here is the Cath technique. The Cath is probably the most amazing software developer on Earth. Cath is incredible. She lives in a little town called Geelong, which is about 100 k's north of Melbourne. She's great. Cath's technique was she figured out that she could abuse the hell out of the system. She was like, oh, this robot's checking stuff for me. Great. I'm going to beat the living shit out of it, and I'm going to add 1,000 log errors. I'm going to add 1,000 tests, and I'm just going to throw it in the game. I'm going to fill the game with garbage so I can get these reports to tell me what's going on. So consequently, Cath would make games with like 5,000 bugs a day. We didn't know this was happening. It was pretty wild. This is what peak performance looks like. This is Cath's workstation. That's the game running all the time. She's watching that. This is the bug report. This is how she works. That's her kid's drawing. Her kid's adorable, super lovely. This is peak performance in software development. You should all approach this. Now, that's the project. That's the broad strokes of how it works. Now, how do I know that that's what it was? How am I not just lying to you, right? I could just be making this up. Now, I know this because we do this for a lot of different companies. We do automation for a lot of different things. I'm not selling it to you. I'm just explaining that we have a process, and we have implemented the same process in a number of places. And also, we've worked closely with companies that didn't do this process. So particularly in the Fitbit process, we use this methodology. Other companies that were friends of ours did not use this methodology. They use traditional model methodology. We saved a lot of money. They didn't save a lot of money. Now, is this a magic cure? No, it's not. Let me explain why. Project A. I won't give you its name. We worked on this. It is a 20-year-old code base. There were 3 teams working on it. We came in to run along as an experiment. Same thing. You stand up the automation, you get the build, you deploy it to the thing, you show it visible to the team, you have the report. It's just the same stuff. It's the same stuff, right? But it's AAA, right? It's a big deal. A lot of data, a lot of build size, very complicated, big team, all this kind of stuff. Did the tools work? Yes. It was C++ engine. It's kind of irritating, but we got it up and running. That was all good. Now, it stands as our high watermark of like, that sucks. But it worked. However, the key problem was information gating. So this is the issue, right? Remember Cath's elite workstation. Here is where she works. Here is the game. I work, the game appears. I work, the game appears. There's no effort. It just happens. That's great. Now, the information on that project is not gated. The information on this project became gated because the dev team, who are incredibly skilled and were fantastic, and they did a great job, insisted on sticking to a traditional process. And the traditional process is you find a bug, you log a bug, you get it into Jira, you assign it up, it gets to a dev. Someone has to triage it, then they have to assign it. It's got to go through all these things. That time has to be allocated. We will get to the problem next milestone. In fact, I called them up. I called up the guy, and I'm like, yeah, look, there's a lot of bugs, man. Like, this could be us. I don't think it's us. There's just a lot of bugs. And the conversation was, yeah. We fix bugs next milestone. Like, right. How are you going to ship it? No, we ship, and we fix bugs next milestone. Oh, OK. Cool. Now, this is what it looked like. This is what their game looked like. Again, bug count, time, total number of testing hours. That's an interesting statistic. Now, testing hours and gaps in testing hours represents the build is fundamentally broken and we can't run it, right? A high bug count with declining testing indicates that there is a hard crash, something fundamental, right? It's crashing out to desktop. It doesn't work. There's a huge issue, right? You can't get coverage because you can't get into the game, right? There's issues. But as you can see, it's just constant. It's just a stream. Now, the reason why I bring it up was it caused a huge issue. Now, the good thing is the story ends well. The game ships, the game's great, good reviews, everyone's a hero. Did we learn anything? No. However, huge drama with the client, huge drama with the publisher. A lot of distrust, a lot of angry conversations, a lot of issues, late payments, all this kind of stuff. However, it all works out. Everybody's fine. Nobody learns anything, right? Secondary project, not project A. This is another one. Now, this is a very different chart, right? It goes absolutely mental up here. But what was occurring was this period of time was the same as the previous game. And I saw this happening, and it was around the time when there were real problems with the publisher going, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why doesn't this game work? And so I called up these guys, and I'm like, hey, look, we've seen this habit. We've seen this thing. You got a high bug count. You should fix them. What you should do is like you wake up in the morning. We give you a priority list. We've got this one. We've got this top bug here. This has occurred the most. Just fix that one. Just do one bug a day. That's it. It's just, it's like a workout habit. Do one thing a day. And they did. And so what they had was like things started to decline. It was going pretty well. But then they figured out the cath technique. They were like, oh, we can just abuse the shit out of this. We can just add a bunch of log errors and do a bunch of stuff. And so they just like went absolutely ballistic, which also was great. It helped them debug a lot of things. It helped them fix a lot of things. That was really good. And then they basically started this downward trajectory to the point of like, oh shit, we got to ship it in a month. Okay, let's go. So again, game's looking great, coming out. Everybody's having a good time. It's good. Now, the learning, I'm getting to the point. The learning is that if you have this ability to automate stuff, you should be automating things. Because if you've got to do it twice, you just paid for it again at a real fundamental level. The other thing is that if you have this ability to automate something and you have the ability to get it to the dev team, you need to get it to the dev team as close to the team as you can. Just because you buy something or just because you implement something, it doesn't solve a problem. Like, you can buy this and spend a lot of money, and it won't help you because you don't use it. If you actually do want to have like large amounts of change and large amounts of cost saving, you actually have to change. You've got to change development a little bit. You've got to change some habits, right? People should just be doing people work. Human time is incredibly valuable. See the beginning of the talk. You should just do things that humans should do. If only humans can do this, then that's what humans should do. If robots can do it, why the fuck is a human doing it? Thank you. Nodding to the people nodding. And the second thing is shared resources are a remarkable thing. Shared resources have a remarkable benefit done well. So if you have this ability to kind of go, right, we're running a few teams, but we can get this one crew of people to specialize in something that benefits the majority, share that across other teams, that's a really great idea. It is a fantastic way to actually save a lot of money. You do have to really think about that and plan it, though. Everything is fundamentally communication. But my largest takeaway, and the largest note that I would like to pass on, is that the process of how you make it is pretty much everything. The single most expensive thing to game development is the game's development. The largest thing in your company is your payroll bill. You should think about the payroll bill. And this is not saying go fire half your company. This is saying, what are you paying for? You're paying for a person's time to develop this game. What are they doing with the time? Where's the waste? Where's the duplication? Where's the extra effort? Where's all the stuff done that they don't need to do? How do you kind of cut that up, divide it amongst other people, solve those problems elsewhere, let creative people be creative, let the development just be development, and just, make better games. Maximize productivity, minimize wasted time. That's the talk. I'm done. Thank you.